This lesson is designed to teach you how to create and format tables in Microsoft Office Word 2010. Let's get started by adding in some random text. Key the equal sign and then RAND. Open parentheses, and we're going to do 4, 5, 4 paragraphs, 5 sentences per paragraph, and then close parentheses. Press enter. At the end of our text, we're going to pretend that this is a report or a letter or something we've written, and we're going to use a table as supporting evidence to our document. So we're going to create a table. At the end of the document, go to the Insert tab, click the Table drop-down arrow, and we have 3 ways we can insert a table. We can insert a table using the template here that allows us to choose how many rows and columns. If you notice in your document, as you change, as you mouse over the different little squares here, your table on your paper, you have a live preview of what your table would look like, and you see how it changes. The next way to insert a table is to click the Insert Table command from the drop-down arrow, from the drop-down menu, and click that, and we get the Insert Table dialog box, and we can tell it how many rows and columns we want. If we want 2 columns or 3 columns and 2 rows, we can do that. Click OK. And you can insert a table that way. Let's undo that. And the third way to insert a table is to go to Insert, go to the Table drop-down arrow, and click Draw Table. Your mouse pointer changes to a pencil shape, and you can click and drag, and if we want 3 columns, we can draw in so that we have 3 columns and 3 rows if we want. And that's the third way to enter a table. Let's click our down arrow beside our undo button and undo down to Create Table. Let's go back into the Insert tab. Click the Table drop-down arrow. 3, 2, 1. Click the Table drop-down arrow, and let's choose to do 3 columns by 4 rows. And we have a table quickly inserted that way. Let's begin to populate our table. Let's type in the first cell. To move to the next cell, press the Tab key. To move to the next row, if you're in the last cell of the row, you can click the Tab key again. Tab key just takes you to the next cell. If you need to go back to a cell, you can press Shift Tab, and Shift Tab takes you all the way back as many times as you hit it. You can go to the previous cells, and Tab takes you to the next cells. Okay? Now that we are at the end of our table, if we want to continue typing into new rows, all we have to do is press the Tab key again, and that automatically creates a new row for us. Now that we've populated our list, we may decide that, or we may realize we need actually more columns of information. To add columns of information, we go to one of the Tables Tools tabs. When you create a table, you automatically get these two tabs on the ribbon, the Design tab and the Layout tab. If you click off of the table, those disappear from the ribbon. You have to be working in the table to see those two Table Tools tabs. So you need to click on the table somewhere to see those tabs. Click anywhere in the middle column, and we're going to add columns to our table. Go to the Layout tab, and you see in the Rows and Columns group, you see the Insert Left and the Insert Right buttons. Let's insert left, and let's add gender. To populate this column, we can press the down arrow. Click anywhere in the last column, and let's do insert right to add a column to the right of our current cell. Okay, so we have populated our table. Now we can sort the information in our table in a particular way. We can sort ascending, A to Z, or smallest to largest, or we can sort information descending, which is Z to A, or largest to smallest. Let's go ahead and sort our table now. Go to the Layout tab. Well, select your table. Let's select the whole table. To select the whole table, what I did was I clicked on this little handle that pops up and clicked on it. Selects the whole table. If I want to unselect the table, I can just click anywhere off the table or in the table. But to select the whole table quickly, I can click right here on this handle. Let's go to the Layout tab. Let's find the Sort button in the Data group. And we're going to sort. Let's say we selected our header row, so we don't want to sort that row. So we want to choose that my list has a header row. And let's sort by superhero age. And then we can do a secondary sort in our table. Let's sort by gender. And we could sort by a third one if we wanted to, but we're just going to do by these two. And click OK. And now you see that it is sorted by age. If any of them had the same age, then it would have done our secondary sort and done females and then males. Okay, so we have successfully sorted our table. You have to be real careful and make sure you select the whole information that you want to sort, because if you only select a portion of information like this, that would be all that would be sorted. So you have to be real careful when sorting your information. We just sorted this table in ascending order by age. Let's do a second sort, and let's just select the actual data that we want to sort this time. Go to the Layout tab and choose the Sort button. We get the Sort dialog box. And this time, let's say that we have no header row. And we can drag this box over if we want to see. We want to sort by, let's sort by gender. Column 2. And if we don't want a second sort, we can sort by none. And then click OK. So now we have all the female superheroes together and all of the males. Okay, now if we want the superhero names to also be in order, let's do a sort again with that data selected. And let's do by column 2 and then do by column 1. And you will notice, click OK. And we're doing these in ascending order. Notice now that your names are also in order. Now, click in the row that has Green Lantern in it. And let's add a row above him that allows us to put another superhero in. So go to the Layout tab, click Insert Above, and let's populate our table. Okay, so we've added a row to our table using the Insert Above command. You could also do Insert Below if you wanted to add another superhero or another row to your table. Alrighty, now let's work with changing column widths. One way to change column widths is to click and drag the boundary of the column, and you always want to work from left to right when resizing. So click on the right boundary of the first column and drag it over to about right there and let go, and you see it resized the column. Do the same thing for the gender column and the age column and the eye color and the special power. Okay, so we have resized our table this way. Another way to resize tables is to go into Table Properties. This is the way we resized our columns. We can go into the Table Properties button. So click on the Layout tab and go to the Properties button. Here is where we can change the alignment of the table, the text wrapping, and then we can change row heights, column widths, cell margins, and all kinds of things regarding our table. We can even change borders and shading and other options, and we're going to look at all of these. Right now, let's go to the Column tab, and notice we're in column 5 up here, and column 5, I'm going to move this over, is our special power. It's at 1.25. Let's put it at 1.5 and then click Next Column, and that takes us to column 1. And see how our heading here has wrapped in this first cell? It needs to be a little bigger. So let's do it also 1.5 and click Next Column. Gender could be a little smaller, looks like. So let's change it down to 0.5 and see if that's good. Click Next. Age, let's move it down to 0.5. And eye color could possibly stand to be just a little bit smaller. Okay. Well, I don't like what happened to eye color there, so let's go to Previous Column. And let's make it back to 0.8 and go to Next Column. And that's how you can resize columns. Now let's go to rows. And right now 1 through 7 are selected. And let's say we want all of our rows, since all of them are selected. We can go, let's say we want them all to be 0.2 high. And let's change it to exactly. Now, if we wanted to do one row at a time, different row heights, we could by selecting these buttons. Let's tell it we do not want to allow the row to break across pages, so uncheck that. And here, if we had a header row, like we want to repeat row 1, let's just go to Previous Row Well, let's go to next row. I see row 7 up there, so next row until you see row 1. And let's choose repeat as header row at the top of each page, so that if the table does break across pages, then you would have that header row appear at the top of the next page if your table ends up on 2 pages. And then click OK. So we changed our row height and our column width. Okay, it doesn't really look like we did much to our row height. So if we want to be a little more dramatic with our row heights, we can do that. Another place we can change those is right here on the Layout tab. Go to the Layout tab in the Cell Size group. Notice our row height is 0.2. Let's change it to 0.3. And you see that our rows are all 0.3. They're a little bit bigger now. In here, we can change cell alignment of our text. Click our text here and go to the Layout tab and see your alignment options. Let's choose the one that has it aligned center. Notice when we align center, it lines it up between the top and bottom margins of the cell, as well as between the left and right margins. Select that again and let's choose. Let's just go through and choose and see which each one of these looks like. You can choose to align at the top left, top center, top right, and then or center left, centered or centered right, bottom left, bottom center, bottom right. You see all the different ones. Let's go ahead and change it back to center alignment. I like that one. For this information though, let's align it to bottom left. The ages, however, let's make them, numbers are usually right aligned. Let's do them bottom right. Okay, so that's how you can change cell alignment of the text. If we want to rotate our text direction, we can do that right here as well. And I'm going to undo that so that my row height gets back to where I want it to be. Okay, now that we've populated our table, maybe now we want to move it to a new location. We may think that it looks better in a different part of our or a different location of our report. If you click on the handle, the same handle that lets us select the entire table, click and drag it up. You can drag it up in your document. And mine has text wrapping around the table, and you can change that if you'd like. You can either go to the Layout tab and the Properties button, or you can right click and choose Table Properties to open the Table Properties dialog box. Make sure the alignment says Center. Let's center it, and let's do the text wrapping around, and let's click OK. Okay, so I have it centered. Now that's not the easiest way to read the text, so let's go back in there, right click, Table Properties, and instead of centered, let's change it to right alignment and click OK. And our table is now up within our text with text wrapping around it. Let's do something to our table here. Let's go in. We have it sorted, males and females. We can change this table into two tables by going to the Layout tab and choosing the Split Table button. Click and choose the Split Table button. Okay, and it did something crazy here. It overlapped mine. So notice though, as I mouse over the top of this table, I get this selection handle, and I mouse down and I get the selection handle for the second table. I'm going to click that and drag that down into this next paragraph. And now my table that was 1 is now 2. And I want to format this table. So I want to add a row above. Let's go to the Layout tab and click anywhere in the first row, and let's do Insert Above. Now we can copy this text, select it and Control C, and then we can paste it into this table so we don't have to type it again. Control V, or go to the Home tab and press the Paste button. Okay, now let's give both of these tables a main title. Let's again go to the Layout tab, click Insert Above, and let's title this one Girl Power. Same thing over here, this one, Insert Above, and name this one Muscle Men. Okay, now our titles would look a lot better if they were centered over the whole table. So to center them over the whole table, we have to merge cells. Let's select the title on our Girl Power table, and let's click Merge Cells. And let's do the same thing for the Muscle Men. Select the first row. A quick way to select the row is to click to point outside of the table until the arrow is pointing in towards the row, and click one time, and then click Merge Cells, and we have merged and centered our titles. To split the cells again, we could split the cells back if we wanted to. We could go to Split Cells and tell it to give us 4 columns again, 5 columns again, and we could tell it to give us 2 rows. Click OK, and you would see where we could split, and then we would have to resize those by clicking and dragging our column, our cell borders to be the same size as our other columns. If we wanted to do that, we can split cells. Let's undo all of that though, because we really don't want that to happen. Muscle Men is our main title for this document. Okay, now let's make these tables look better, look more professional and more pleasing to the eye. Click anywhere in the Girl Power and let's go to the Design tab. And let's choose a table style. This is the table styles group. Let's click and let's do this red one here. Okay, we've got Girl Power. We've got some formatting going on. This is special formatting. A table style has pre-formatted borders and shading and all kinds of pre-formatted options, including fonts and things. If we want to modify the style, we can do that. So maybe we don't want this font with this style. Click the More button, click Modify Table Style, and let's change the font. Let's change it to Comic Sans. That sounds like a good font for some superheroes. Let's change the font to 12 points. And let's do the color to be a blue color and see what that looks like. That may not be very visible, but we'll try it. If we don't like it, we can always come back in and modify it again. And click OK. And so now we have a table with a predefined font style on there that we have modified. Over here in the table style options, we can tell it, we can control more how it looks. Let's uncheck first column, and that takes the colorful shading off of this first column. Banded rows, so you can check to make it unbanded rows. If we want banded columns, you can check and you see what happens when you turn on banded columns. Last column makes the last column have special formatting. Let's uncheck that one and let's check header row. Let's go ahead and check banded rows, and let's go ahead and while we're in this one, let's go ahead and select this and change our font to a more readable font. Color, which would be white. Let's change it to white font color on there. And let's bold that white so it'll be even more easy to read. For the title, let's change that font to, let's hit the Grow Font button till it's at 16-point font. And when we do that, we may have to resize the row. To resize a row, you can either go into Table Properties or you can click the bottom boundary of the row. Let's just drag it down a little bit. Now, what would look better even for this would be to go to the Layout tab, change our text direction to centered and centered. And there is that table. Now, let's format this table manually without applying a style. To format this table, we can go to the Design tab. We can go to the Shading and shade the first row. Let's shade it to green. And the second row with the subheadings, let's change it to light blue. And these, let's change to a very light blue. Let's actually go into more colors and make it either the lightest blue we can get there or the lightest kind of aqua blue we can get there. Then go into Custom and see if we can't get it even a little bit lighter. And click OK. And so we've got a table here. The first row, let's add a border to it. Actually, first, let's select the whole table. let's choose to do borders. Click the Borders and Shading button. Let's do a box border, and let's choose a thick box border around it. Let's do a kind of a medium blue color border. Let's make it 4.5 point font, or 4.5 point thickness. Make sure it says Apply to Table and click OK. Now if we want to draw borders in, we can do that. We can change the inside borders. Let's go ahead and draw. Click the Draw, and we've got this pen color here, and we can draw that border on that cell. And let's change the border to be a solid line. Let's make this one a 1 point line, and make the pen color that bright green that we have this cell. And we can draw these borders on to our table. Now this is the long way to do it. This is not the way I recommend doing it, but it is an option for how you can do it. Instead, if I wanted to do those inside borders like that, this is what I would do. Let's change the pen color now to red so we can see what's happening. If you click the drop down arrow here on the Borders button, you could click Inside Borders, and that would change those borders to that red. And then you could draw back in your option that you had, pen color there, and draw that border back in if you wanted to. And that's the way I would do it, because drawing each particular border is way too time consuming. To erase a border, you can click the Eraser button and do the same thing. Let's try that, Eraser button, and you can erase a border. And what that does is it just has the effect of not taking away just the color, but actually merging the cells when you erase borders. So you got to be real careful using that Eraser button. I'm going to undo that and get my individual cells back. To turn the eraser or the draw table command off, you can click the button again, or you could simply click the escape key on your keyboard. Now let's do some formatting to this. Let's change our font. Let's make it bold. Let's make it a larger size. Click that Grow Font button there till it's about 18 point. Let's resize the row there a little bit. Let's change all of this to 12 point font, and let's change it to Comic Sans. And there we have our tables. One we formatted with a table style, one we formatted using manual settings on the Design tab, the Shading and Borders buttons.